Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lexi English. In today's episode, I'm going to share a simple story about a day in my life. But as always, while telling this story, we'll also learn English naturally. You'll hear useful expressions, and I'll explain them along the way so we can enjoy the story and learn at the same time. Let's get started.
Most mornings, I wake up just before my alarm starts ringing. When your alarm goes off, it begins to make a sound to wake you up. I don't usually jump out of bed right away. To jump out of bed means to get up quickly with energy. Honestly, that's not how my mornings usually look. I often stay in bed for a few more minutes, staring at the ceiling and trying to gather my thoughts. When you gather your thoughts, you calmly organize what's going on in your mind. On this particular morning, I woke up at 6:15. The room was silent, and there was a soft light coming in just before sunrise. I could hear a bird outside. For a moment, everything felt calm and peaceful. But then my thoughts started moving very fast. When your mind races, it means your thoughts are running quickly, often because you're thinking about many things or feeling worried. Suddenly, I remembered everything I had to do that day. I felt that familiar pressure building inside me. I had a lot on my plate. If you have a lot on your plate, it means you have many things to handle. I needed to reply to emails, complete some writing, record part of a lesson, and also deal with a few personal tasks I had been putting off. To put something off means to delay it, usually because you don't feel like doing it. For a moment, I just wanted to stay in bed and avoid the day. But then I told myself, come on, get it together. To get it together means to calm yourself, become organized, and start acting in a more controlled way. So I slowly sat up, rubbed my eyes, and placed my feet on the floor. It was cold, which helped me wake up a bit more. I walked into the kitchen and put the kettle on. That simply means to start heating water, usually for tea or coffee. That small action always feels like the official start of the day. While waiting for the water to boil, I looked out the window. The street was still quiet, and only a few lights were on in nearby homes. It felt like the world was slowly waking up. I made a cup of coffee and stood by the window, holding the mug with both hands. That first sip is always special. It helps me ease into the day. To ease into something means to begin it slowly and gently. I've realized that my mornings go better when I don't rush. If I start too fast, everything feels slightly out of control. Still, even with coffee, I could feel stress slowly creeping in. If something creeps in, it enters quietly and gradually. That's how stress often works. It doesn't always come suddenly. Sometimes it arrives very softly. So, I decided not to check my phone immediately. I know myself. If I look at messages too early, I can easily go down a rabbit hole. That means getting deeply involved in something and losing track of time. One message becomes 5, then 10, and suddenly the calm morning is gone. Instead, I took my notebook and wrote a short to-do list. This helps me clear my mind. When you clear your mind, you remove confusion and feel calmer. This time, I only wrote 5 tasks. In the past, I used to make long lists with 15 or 20 items, and then I'd feel disappointed when I couldn't finish them all. Now, I try to be realistic and set myself up for success. That means creating conditions that make success more likely. After finishing my coffee, I got dressed and went outside for a short walk. As I passed a small bakery, I thought about buying something nice. Sometimes we need to treat ourselves, which means giving ourselves a small reward. I smiled, but kept walking, telling myself I'd come back another day. When I returned home, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. This is usually when the real work begins and also when excuses appear. Suddenly, I feel like cleaning, checking messages, or making another coffee, anything except starting the task. It's funny because it's obvious my brain is trying to stall. To stall means to delay doing something. My first task was answering emails. I don't dislike emails, but they can drain my energy if I'm not careful. To drain your energy means to make you feel very tired. Some emails are simple, but others require more thought. You need to choose your words carefully and sometimes read between the lines. That means understanding a meaning that is not directly stated. By 9:30, it was time to start writing. Writing can be strange. Some days, everything flows easily. Other days, every sentence feels difficult, like you have to drag the words out. That means pulling them out slowly with effort. That morning was somewhere in between. I wasn't very inspired, but I wasn't completely stuck either. I wrote a sentence, deleted part of it, wrote another, then leaned back and sighed. I reminded myself not to chase perfection. Perfection often slows things down. Sometimes it's better to just get the ideas out and improve them later. In other words, I needed to stop overthinking and just get on with it. That means to stop delaying and continue working. So I did. Slowly, the words started coming. As time passed, I began to get into the flow. That means working smoothly without struggle. At first, my thoughts were scattered, but then they started settling. One sentence led to another, and soon I wasn't fighting the work anymore. I was just doing it. That's often how good work happens. It doesn't start perfectly. It starts with resistance, then patience, and finally something clicks. When something clicks, it suddenly begins to make sense. Later, my phone buzzed. It was a message about a small issue, but the kind that can affect your whole mood. I made another, stronger coffee and stood in the kitchen again. Sometimes simple moments help us think clearly. I told myself, don't let this ruin your day. To derail something means to push it off its path. The problem was real, but it didn't need to take control of everything. I replied calmly and decided to leave it for a while. Sometimes that's enough. You don't keep picking at the problem. That means not going back to it again and again unnecessarily. By lunchtime, I felt mentally tired, so I stepped away from my desk for a break. After lunch, I planned to record part of a lesson. Before recording, I usually warm up by reading aloud and adjusting my words to sound natural. I always want my language to feel real and easy to understand. But this time, I kept stopping. I was being too critical. I started second-guessing everything, questioning if my words were right. When you second-guess, you doubt your decisions too much. Eventually, I stood up, laughed, and said, "You're making this too complicated." To overcomplicate means to make something harder than it needs to be. That small moment helped me relax. Later that night, I stood by the window again. The street was quiet and dark. It hadn't been a perfect day, but I had shown up. To show up means to be present and keep going, even when things aren't perfect. And honestly, that's often enough. Not perfection, not brilliance, just effort, just consistency, just showing up and not giving up.